Here we have Clarence Thomas involving himself in a case that involves his wife, which is a violation of law. And the best anyone's really asking for is, would he please recuse himself, since it's entirely up to him, would he please recuse himself in the future?
Right. But as Lawrence Tribe said, there are regulations, but there's no enforcement mechanism. And as you just put it, it is completely up to him. And I heard, the previous bit of sound where people are saying we need Supreme Court ethics laws and rules, and people are pretending that they're shocked by this, but they shouldn't be shocked by this. We've been trying to get the Congress to pass Supreme Court ethics rules for years. Hank Johnson introduced the Supreme Court Ethics Act in 2019. It did not get a vote. It died in the House. They reintroduced it. He and Chris Murphy reintroduced it in 2021. Last summer, they folded it into H.R. 1, and then it passed to the House, and it got to the Senate, and it died again. Congress does not have the intestinal fortitude to pass the rules that would make this enforceable. And that is the problem. It is not, we didn't wake up and realize that we didn't have these rules. We have woken up years ago realizing we didn't have these rules. And I think what it also crystallized and underscores is the degree to which we had lived in a bit of a dream for decades, if not centuries, assuming that we didn't need to put up guardrails around our biggest institutions like the presidency and the Supreme Court, that these places would be occupied by people who would do the right things, and that we didn't have to control them or coerce them or write laws and institute them to control their behavior. The Supreme Court is not equipped to police itself. Even the letter that was sent by Congress, the members of Congress today, kind of headed by Elizabeth Warren, asked the Chief Justice to do it. The Chief Justice, that would be a regulation within the court. We need legislation to control these institutions.
EJ, it's such an important point, Charles reminding us that here's yet another set of guardrails that we kind of imagined were there. And we imagined them because from time to time, Supreme Court justices have recused themselves. And sometimes we don't even know why, because they don't even have to say why. But they've done it. And it's given us out here often the feeling that, well, they know when to do it and they're doing it. Ketanji Brown Jackson, in her confirmation hearing, promised to recuse herself already in certain cases. And here you have Clarence Thomas in a case involving his wife. And to believe that he didn't know it involved his wife is to believe that on the evening of January 6th, when they got home after the worst day in the history of Washington, and as long as they lived there, neither one of them said to the other, what did you do today?
Yeah, hard to believe, isn't it? I mean, Charles is absolutely right that this issue has been around a lot longer than this. This happens to be an extreme and particularly dangerous case. And, he took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Domestic enemies is just what we saw on January 6th. That was the oath he took. And so, yes, I do think we need these guardrails. We've needed them for a long time. We can't count, alas, on justices to do the right thing. Some have. And Ketanji Brown Jackson, by the way, did. She probably went even farther than she needed to in those hearings. And I think that's what's going to justify hearings here. First, if he doesn't recuse himself, that should be an instant trigger for hearings. But I think this breach is so important that Congress should hold hearings on the need for these, that introducing the bills obviously wasn't enough. The Congress hasn't been willing to act. And I think Ms. Thomas should be queried by the January 6th committee about exactly what she did, because the extent of what went on here is really as big as you said it was. And just by the way, we say correctly that spouses should be able to lead independent lives. That is gender equality. But that does not give any public official a right to engage in this kind of conflict of interest. And most public officials have recognized that.
Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said today, Congress must understand that a failure to hold Clarence Thomas accountable sends a loud, dangerous signal to the full court, Kavanaugh, Barrett, and the rest, that his acts are fair game. This is a tipping point. Inaction is a decision to erode and further delegitimize SCOTUS. Charles, your reaction to that?
Yeah, I mean, she's getting at the idea that it should be investigated, and if warranted, there should be an impeachment hearing for Justice Thomas, even if it is not going to lead to his removal, because the Senate would not go along with the removal. It would be very much like Trump and his 2 impeachments. But I am a big proponent of impeachment on principle. I think that you have to record for history when something outrageous and egregious has happened, that someone has to make an official action. And an impeachment is that it marks, it creates a scarlet letter that lasts. It does not necessarily lead to removal, but it means something.